Jai Hind students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Students, there is nothing in this world that a resolute man can't do. Actually, do have faith in your own abilities and you can do everything, whatever you desire for. And to have faith is to have wings. So that's why add wings to your imagination and never ever hesitate to fly high. So you can do it.
With that positive note, students, let's begin today's session. Today we are going to discuss another mechanical energy which is known as potential energy. As we are aware, the effects of applying a force on an object are many. As we have discussed earlier, if the force changes the velocity of an object, then the work done in doing so is stored up in the object in the form of its kinetic energy, right? But in case the applied force does not change the velocity of the object, but instead changes its position or configuration, that is the shape, then the work done by the force gets stored up in the body in the form of its potential energy. So, today we are going to discuss potential energy. So basically, students, the energy possessed by a body by virtue of its position, by virtue of its height or configuration, that is known as potential energy. So, potential energy is defined as the energy possessed by a body by virtue of its position or height or configuration. So the energy possessed by a body by virtue of its position or height or configuration is known as or is called its potential energy. This is how we can define potential energy. Now, remember, potential energy is also termed as configuration energy or mutual energy. So it is also known as configuration because it is the energy possessed by a body by virtue of its configuration. Therefore, it is also known as configuration energy or mutual energy. Right? Okay. Now let us discuss the examples of bodies possessing potential energy. So there are various examples. First we'll discuss some basic example. Suppose a body is lifted from this position. This is the body in its initial position. It is lying on the ground, right? Now it is lifted through some height. Now this is its final position. So this is the initial position of the body. And let us consider this to be the final position of the body, right? Let us consider this to be the final position of the body. So, body is lifted through some height. Let this height be h. And suppose the mass of the body be m. So in this case, whatever amount of work is being done in lifting the object through height h will get stored in the body in the form of its potential energy, right? So basically, a lifted weight, this is an example of potential energy because it can do work where it falls down under the gravity, right? So this is a very basic example of potential energy. Second is the water stored in reservoirs. Water stored in reservoirs. The energy stored in the case of a water which is stored in huge dams, that is in the form of potential energy. So this is another example. Water stored in reservoirs. So huge quantities of water is saved in it. And it is the potential energy of this water which generates electricity for us in hydroelectric power stations, right? There are some other examples as well. We can discuss the potential energy due to configuration as well. A coiled spring. A coiled spring, it possesses potential energy. Actually, a coiled spring in case of a watch, a toy or a gramophone. Now, when the coiled spring uncoils, it does work by rotating the hands of the watch, setting the toy in motion or rotating the gramophone disc. So these all are the examples of potential energy, right? Then another example is the compressed gas in a cylinder. Compressed gas in a cylinder. Now basically when the compressed gas changes its configuration, that is it expands, then definitely it does some work, right? So compressed gas in a cylinder is also the example of the system possessing potential energy, right? Then obviously a very common example is a stressed bow. Stressed bow. Now when the bow is released, it is able to shoot the arrow with large velocity. So basically here the potential energy getting converted into kinetic energy. So these all are the examples of the body having potential energy. So actually potential energy is of three types. One is the gravitational potential energy. A lifted weight or water stored in reservoir, that's example of gravitational potential energy. Then coiled spring, it is the case of elastic potential energy. Then due to charged particles also there is potential energy which is known as electrostatic potential energy. So students, basically there are three types of potential energies. One is the gravitational potential energy, example as I've discussed, it's lifted weight or water stored in reservoir. The other one is elastic potential energy, as I've stated, its example is coiled spring. And in higher class we will discuss the electrostatic potential energy that exists between the charged particles. In this session, students, we will be discussing the gravitational potential energy, that is the energy possessed by a lifted weight, right? Like when an object, as I've told you earlier, suppose it is initially placed on a floor, some work has to be done in lifting this object from position A to position B. That is, in order to raise its height through H, right? In this case, the work done in lifting the object through height H will get stored in the body in the form of its gravitational potential energy. And students, the potential energy is mathematically represented as let's represent potential energy by PE, potential energy. It is given by mgh. The m is the mass of the body under consideration, g is the acceleration due to gravity, and h is the height through which the body is raised or lifted. Here g is acceleration due to gravity. Whose value on the Earth's surface is 9.8 meter per second square, right? So this is the expression for the potential energy of a lifted weight. We'll discuss its mathematical derivation as well. So potential energy is directly proportional to mass, and it is also directly proportional to height. That is, the greater the height through which the body gets raised, the more will be the work required to be done and more will be the energy stored in the body, right? So let's study the graphical variation of potential energy with mass. for h to be constant. Suppose the height is constant. In that case, if we plot a graph between potential energy and mass, if the mass of a body is increased, then the potential energy will also increase linearly. Because if h is constant, then potential energy is directly proportional to the mass of the body. Larger the mass of the body, greater will be the potential energy stored in it when it is raised through a certain given height, right? So the graph between PE and M, it would be a straight line passing through the origin. Similarly, if M is constant, mass of a given body is constant only. So if M is constant, then potential energy is directly proportional to H. That is, if the height is made twice, then the potential energy will also become double. If the height is made thrice, then the potential energy of the body under consideration will also become 3 times. So here also the potential energy is linearly dependent on the height. So it should also be a straight line passing through the origin. So the graph showing the variation of potential energy with height is also a straight line passing through the origin. Always remember, in case of linear dependency of two physical quantities, then the graph obtained would be a straight line passing through the origin, as shown in the figure. Now let us derive an expression for the potential energy of an object at a height. As was discussed earlier, suppose we consider an object to be initially placed on a floor or a ground. This is the object under consideration. Let us consider this to be position A and the mass of the object is M. Now our objective is to raise this object through height h. The object is to be raised through height h. Suppose this is the final position. So the object is to be raised through height h. Let us assume the height from A to B is h. So we are going to derive an expression for the potential energy of a lifted body, right? So we know that every object on the surface of the earth is attracted by the earth, isn't it? And if it is having mass m, then its weight will act in the downward direction, that is along the radius towards the center of the earth. This is the weight of the body. So if an object has mass m, then it will experience a force that is called weight of the object, which acts vertically downwards along the radius towards the center of the earth. Now, for all practical purposes, if you assume that the value of this small g, which is acceleration due to gravity, remains constant near the surface of the earth, so therefore the weight of the body will also remain constant. Now in order to move this object upwards from A to B, say through distance h, we must apply a force which is to balance this weight, isn't it? So suppose this is the applied force. Let us consider this to be the applied force. This is the force which we are applying on the body so as to make the body move from point A to point B, right? So F is the applied force. So therefore, the magnitude of this force must be equal to mg, so that the body may be moved from A to B without any acceleration, right? So F is equal to mg. Now work done by this force F, work done by the force F in moving the body from A to B is given by Look, work done, as we are aware, it is given by the product of the magnitude of the force and the displacement of the body along the direction of the force applied. Now, displacement is also along this direction. The body is to be taken from A to B. So, its displacement H is also along this direction and F is also along this direction. So, the angle between these two is 0 degree. So, here work done is simply given by the product of the force and the displacement along the direction of the force applied, which in this case is H. So if we substitute the value of F over here, F is equal to mg. This is the force which needs to be applied. So mg, in place of F, write mg. So we get W equals to mgh. So basically, students, this amount of work done on the object which changes its position from A to B is known as gravitational potential energy. Right? So this work done does not go waste. Whatever work we are doing in lifting this object from A to B, it will get stored in the body in the form of its potential energy. And as I've told you, since we are doing work, right, and we are supposed to apply force F, which will balance this weight of the body, which is due to the acceleration or which is due to the gravitational force, right? Therefore, it is also known as gravitational potential energy. So students, again I repeat, the work done on the object which changes its position from A to B is called gravitational potential energy. So I'll write it down. This work done, which is equal to mgh on the body, which changes its position, in the considered case, it changes its position from A to B through height h, is called the gravitational potential energy. Or simply you can say potential energy. Right? Therefore, this work done, as I've stated, it is equal to the potential energy. It gets stored in the body in the form of potential energy. Therefore, the expression for the potential energy of a body when it is raised through height h is mgh. So, this is the expression for the potential energy of a body. M is the mass of the body, g is the acceleration due to gravity, and h is the height through which the body is raised. Clear, students? Now, one more thing. Suppose, students, this is the ground, and let us consider the body is over here at this particular position, which is at a height h1 from the ground. This is suppose position A. Its mass is considered to be m. Now this body is to be raised at this particular point. Suppose this is position B, and this new height from this reference line, it can be considered to be the reference line or ground. Suppose the new position of the body is at B, which is at a height h2 from the ground or from the reference line. Now in this case, students, the potential energy at point A, when the body is placed at point A, then it is at a height h1 from the ground. So the potential energy of the body at position A when it is at height h1 from the ground is mgh1. And similarly, the potential energy of the same body at point B when it is raised from A to B would be, now it is at height h2 from the ground or the reference line. Therefore, its potential energy at point B would be mgh2. This is the initial position, so initial potential energy would be mgh1, and this is the final potential energy at point B, which is mgh2. Therefore, work done in moving the body from A to B, in moving or raising the body from A to B is given by W is equal to change in the potential energy of the body, which is the final potential energy minus initial potential energy. So students, the work done in making the body to move from A to B, from height h1 to height h2 would be given by the change in the potential energy. Change is always final value minus initial value. So what is the final potential energy at point B? It is mgh2. And what is the initial potential energy at position A? That is mgh1. That is, work done is equal to change in potential energy. This is actually the statement of work energy theorem. In this case, the work done on the body do not change the speed of the body. Instead, it is changing the position of the body. So in this case, whatever amount of work is being done on the body, it will be numerically equal to the change in the potential energy of the body. So this is known as work energy theorem. So it is actually work energy theorem. This we have already discussed while doing the concept of kinetic energy. So in this case, the work done by the force in moving the body from A to B will be equal to the change in the potential energy, which will be equal to the final potential energy minus initial potential energy, and this is known as work energy theorem, right? So as we have stated, energy, its SI unit is joule. The CGS unit of energy is erg. So SI unit of energy is joule, represented by J. Right? Same as that of the work, because work and energy, they are equivalent. CGS unit, CGS, as I stated earlier, CGS is a system in which the distance is measured in centimeter, C stands for centimeter. The mass is measured in gram, G stands for gram, and S stands for second, which is used to measure time. So in the CGS system, the unit of energy is erg. This also we have discussed earlier. And the relationship between the SI and CGS unit of energy is, this is very, very important. This also we have mathematically verified. 1 joule is 10 raised to power 7 erg. This is the relationship between SI and the CGS unit of energy, right? To discuss about the law of conservation of energy. Yes, the law of conservation of energy. Students, we have already discussed various examples of transformation of energy from one form into another form, right? In all such cases, we have proved that energy in one form disappears and it reappears in another form. But in no case energy is destroyed or any form of energy appears of its own without the loss of some other form. What I mean to say is that if there is loss of energy of some form, then it appears in some another form, so that total energy of the system always remains constant or conserved. So wherever measurement is possible, we are actually able to prove that the loss of energy of one system is exactly equal to the gain in energy of the other system. So therefore, from this discussion, we conclude that energy is conserved. And this conclusion is called as law of conservation of energy. And this law may be stated as follows. According to this law, energy is always conserved or constant. Energy of an isolated system is always constant or conserved. That is, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. If one form of energy get destroyed, then it reappears in some another form. So energy can neither be created, neither we can create energy, nor we can destroy energy. Right? Whenever some form of energy disappears, then it always reappears in some another form. So that's law of conservation of energy. So law of conservation of energy states that the energy of an isolated system is always constant or conserved, which means that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. But definitely, energy can be transformed from one form to another form. So energy can be converted or transformed from one form to another form. So this is the exact statement of law of conservation of energy, right? Let's discuss some examples. Let's start with a very simple example of energy transformations. In the earlier session also we have discussed various examples, but now we will discuss some new examples. Let us assume, students, these are the two palms of my hand, and if I rub them like this, if I rub the palms of my hand, then what happens is, this is now I'm doing mechanical work, isn't it? If I keep on rubbing the palm against each other, then what happens is, it will get heated up. So, the mechanical energy is getting converted into heat energy, isn't it? So, that's the first example. Example 1. Mechanical energy being converted into heat energy. So when the palms are rubbed against each other, then some heat is produced definitely. So the mechanical energy is being converted into heat energy, right? Let's discuss some various other examples as well. Like conversion of chemical energy into heat energy. Now how will you justify this statement? Conversion of chemical energy into heat energy. Now look, students, when fuels are burnt, then obviously chemical energy gets converted into heat energy. So that's a very simple example. So one energy disappears and other form of energy reappears. Then there is conversion of sound energy into electrical energy. So conversion of sound energy, sound is also a form of energy. Conversion of sound energy into electrical energy. So this is also an example of conversion of one form of energy into another form. Basically, you must have heard about microphone, isn't it? A microphone is a device, actually it is known as a transducer. It is a device which converts sound energy into electrical energy, right? Then let's talk about another example. Conversion of light energy. Light is also an energy, it's a form of energy. So conversion of light energy into chemical energy. Now look, we are aware the photosynthesis process, isn't it? Now in photosynthesis, what happens is light energy or the solar energy from the sun is absorbed by the green plants, right? There is presence of chlorophyll on the leaves of green plants, isn't it? So during photosynthesis, what happens is light energy or solar energy from the sun get absorbed by the green plants, and in turn it is converted into chemical energy. So solar energy or the light energy being converted into chemical energy during the process of photosynthesis. Now let's discuss another example. Conversion of nuclear energy. Now this is the energy which is released during nuclear reactions like nuclear fission or nuclear fusion. So conversion of nuclear energy into electrical energy. So we are aware of hydroelectric power stations, right? Here, during the conversion of nuclear energy into electrical energy, in the case of nuclear power plants, nuclear power plants are basically used to generate electrical energy from nuclear energy, right? So nuclear power plant, it consists of various components basically. There, the nuclear reactions takes place and the energy so released during the reaction, it's used to convert it into electrical energy. So that's the nuclear power plants. So all these examples suggest that the energy can easily be transformed or converted from one form into another form. But the total amount of energy always remain conserved. So energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed. Okay, now we are going to mathematically prove the law of conservation of mechanical energy, right? Now students, here in this case, we'll consider a body, say of mass m, to be initially placed at point A, right? Now it is made to fall freely. So its initial velocity at point A would be equal to 0. Now as it comes downward, as the body falls towards the ground, due to the acceleration, what happens is it will get attracted towards the center of the earth and its velocity will keep on increasing as it approaches closer towards the ground. And at the instant when it strikes the ground, its velocity is maximum. Say at point P, the velocity when it strikes the ground is v. Suppose the entire path AB is h, right? And let C be any arbitrary point. Now at point C, the body will possess some finite velocity. Let it be given by v1. And if AC is considered to be s, the total distance AB is considered to be h, then CB would be definitely given by h minus s, right? So in this case, we are considering a body of mass m, which from point A is made to fall freely under the influence of gravity. Now students, as we are aware, as the ball or the body comes downward, its speed will keep on increasing. And at the instant when it strikes the ground, its speed will be maximum, right? So obviously at the instant when it strikes the ground, its velocity is maximum. And that maximum velocity is considered to be v. And at point C, its velocity is considered to be v1, right? So what we are going to prove is that in the case of freely falling body, the total energy possessed by this body, which is the mechanical energy, which is the sum total of kinetic energy and potential energy, throughout its motion will remain conserved. So what we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to mathematically prove that the total energy of the freely falling body, which is equal to the kinetic energy plus the potential energy, it will always be remaining constant, right? So this is what we are going to prove in the law of conservation of mechanical energy. So we are supposed to prove that at any instant, at point A, at point C, at point B, the total energy possessed by the body, that is Ke plus P, would be constant. So we'll be dealing with three cases. At point A, we'll prove that total energy is same as that at point C, which in turn will be same as that of the total energy possessed by the body when it strikes the ground, that is at point B. So suppose this is point A. At point A, let us consider this to be point B. At point B, and this let us consider at point C, right? At point A, students, the body is raised through height h. So by virtue of its position and height, the body at point A will possess potential energy. But since at point A it is initially at rest, so it will possess no kinetic energy, isn't it? So potential energy at point A, it is obviously equal to mg into distance, height from the ground, which in this case would be h. While on the other hand, the kinetic energy at point A, it would be equal to half m square of velocity. At point A, the body is at rest. It's the case of freely falling body. So 0 square. So it would be equal to 0. Now total energy of the falling body at point A, it would be given by sum total of kinetic energy and the potential energy. Right? So what we get is, it would be equal to 0 plus mgh. That is, the total energy possessed by the body at point A is mgh. Put it as equation A. Clear, students? So this is the total energy possessed by the body at point A. Now let's consider at point B, when the body strikes the ground, right? As it comes down and strikes the ground, it will lose its height. So all its potential energy will get converted into kinetic energy. At point B, the potential energy of the body is 0. While at point B, the kinetic energy of the body is maximum because its velocity is maximum. So at point B, the potential energy of the body at point B would be equal to 0. And kinetic energy of the body at point B, it would be maximum. Half m, velocity at point B is v, which is maximum. So it is maximum, right? Now students, let's convert it in terms of the height h. So for that, what we do is, let's consider the motion of the body from A to B. We are considering the motion of the body from A to B. A is the initial point where initial velocity is 0. B is the final point where the final velocity is v, right? And from A to B, the body is covered a displacement of h. So from third equation of motion, we get v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Let's substitute the value. V is the final velocity at point B, which is v. U is the initial velocity at point A, which is 0, is equal to 2a. Since it is coming downward towards the ground, therefore A is replaced by plus g. G is the acceleration due to gravity. S is the displacement covered by the body in covering from A to B, and that is h. Therefore, students, v square is equal to 2gh, which implies that kinetic energy at point B, it is equal to half m, and in place of v square, we can write 2gh. So 2 get cancelled. So what do you get? mgh. Therefore, students, total energy of the body at point B would be definitely equal to kinetic energy at point B plus potential energy at point B. Now kinetic energy at point B is mgh and potential energy at point B is 0. That is, total energy of the body at point B is mgh. Put this as equation B. So from A and B we conclude that the total energy possessed by the body at point A is exactly equal to the total energy possessed by the body at point B. What is happening is, students, at point A all the energy in the body is in the form of potential energy. Kinetic energy is 0. But as the body falls towards the ground, what happens is it tends to lose potential energy due to the loss in height, and it tends to gain in kinetic energy. So the loss in potential energy would be equal to gain in kinetic energy. And at the instant when it strikes the ground, then all its potential energy at point A gets converted into kinetic energy at point B. So as a result, total energy of the falling body at any instant during its motion simply remains constant, right? Only conversion of one form of energy into another form of energy takes place. Now let's consider this arbitrary point C. Here also we'll prove that the total energy possessed by the body is given by mgh. Now students, look at point C. Due to this velocity v1, it will possess kinetic energy, as well as by virtue of its height from the ground, h minus s, it will possess potential energy. So potential energy at point C, it would be equal to, it is at a height of h minus s. So it is mg h minus s, right? And kinetic energy at point C, at point C its velocity is v1, so it will be half m v1 square, right? Now again, let us consider the motion of the body from A to C. We are considering the motion of the body from A to C, right? Now using third equation of motion. Using third equation of motion, we get v square minus u square is equal to 2as. V is the final velocity at point C, u is the initial velocity at point A. We are considering the motion A to C. So we get v1 square minus u is the initial velocity at point A, which is 0, is equal to, the body is falling downward, so A will be replaced by plus g. G is the acceleration due to gravity. And from A to C, the displacement covered by the body is S. So it is S. Therefore, V1 square is equal to 2gs, which implies that kinetic energy at point C, it is equal to half m V1 square. So we can substitute the value of V1 square as 2gs. So we get 2 get cancelled, we get mgs. Therefore students, total energy of the falling body at point C, it would be equal to sum of the kinetic energy at point C and the potential energy of the body at point C, right? So what we get is kinetic energy at point C is mgs plus potential energy at point C is mgh minus s. Mgs and minus mgs get cancelled out, so we are left with total energy at point C is equal to mgh. So students, from A, B and C, what we have proved is total energy possessed by this falling body at any point during its motion is always conserved. So we have proved the law of conservation of energy, which states that the total energy of a body or an isolated system always remains constant or conserved. That is, energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed. But energy can be definitely transformed from one form into another form, right? So this is the law of conservation of mechanical energy. Now let's plot a graph showing the variation of total energy, kinetic energy, potential energy with this height h, right? So let us discuss this graphical aspect or this graphical study. Suppose this is the vertical axis and let us consider this to be the horizontal axis. OX represent the x-axis. Suppose this is O dash and this is O double dash. Suppose O dash represent horizontal axis and O double dash represent the vertical axis, right? Now let us consider this to represent total energy or potential energy or kinetic energy, right? And this represents the height. horizontal axis represents height. Now look students, potential energy or total energy that at any instant is constant. So definitely it should be a straight line parallel to the horizontal axis. This will represent total energy. It is equal to Ke plus Pe, which is equal to constant. So it will be given by a straight line parallel to the horizontal axis. So whether the height is at point A or point B or point C, at any instant during its motion, whatever be the height of the object from the ground, the total energy will remain constant. So it should be a straight line parallel to the horizontal axis, right? Now, in order to plot the graph showing the variation between potential energy and the height, you are aware at the ground, when height is 0, potential energy is 0. When height is maximum, h, then potential energy is maximum. So it will be a straight line passing through the origin. So this is actually potential energy. This is the graph for potential energy. Right? While on the other hand, students, kinetic energy. Here the height is 0. So this is the point B where height is 0. Here the kinetic energy is maximum. So it will be here. Maximum kinetic energy. And here potential energy is 0. While at the maximum height, the kinetic energy is 0. This is point A, right? This is point A and this is point B actually. This is point B. So here the kinetic energy would be like this. This is the kinetic energy. So basically students, kinetic energy at point B, which is on the ground, is maximum, while the kinetic energy at point A, which is at a height h, is 0. While on the other hand, potential energy at a point on the ground, that is at point B, is 0. At point A, corresponding to point A, potential energy is maximum. And at any instant, the sum of Ke and Pe at any instant at point A, point C, point B during the motion of the body always is constant. So it is given by a straight line parallel to the horizontal axis. So this is the graph which shows the variation. This is the graph which shows the variation between the total energy, potential energy and kinetic energy with the height, right? So students, in this particular lecture, we have discussed the conservation, theoretical statement of conservation of energy, law of conservation of energy. Then we have discussed various examples of conversion of one form of energy into another form of energy. And finally, we have discussed this mathematical part in which we have proved the law of conservation of mechanical energy. So students, do revise this topic. And that's it for this particular session. Do join me in my next lecture, right? Till then, do take very good care of yourself and always stay blessed. Thank you.